We should be able to come to a point of maturity where we say, holy shit, we were wrong. And to all the indigenous peoples and all the native peoples, we should say, we are so damn sorry for what our ancestors have done and for what your ancestors have done to defend themselves. We've also come back and retaliated for those things. And we understand that this is such a mess of ancestral war and hatred and violence. But is there any way that you can forgive us for what we have done in our pasts and our families have done and allow us to be here now? I mean, at the same time, there's this part of too bad we're here. And if you don't let us, then look what we'll do. But we've got to get past that and say, we are sorry for what we've done and for what others have allowed to be done. But can we actually work forward in a way that we work together in nature, and with each other? It sucks when you bring up growing our own food and being healthy and natural, because people always come back to, heck yeah, I used to work on a farm and we milked our own cows. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm getting at. We need to stop drinking milk from cows and treating them like they're products. And they're like, well, no way. The stuff they have in these bottles this day and age, I wouldn't drink that stuff, but give me the whole cow milk. And I'm thinking, okay, you are not seeing the point that a cow is a living thing, and it is not just your product to run your milk through. It's not just a milk producer. It's a living thing. How is that so hard for adults to actually put together in their brain? Why would you just say, yeah, you're right, it's alive, but so what? It's meant to give me milk. No, it's not. Your mother does that. Don't you understand? That's the stupidest thing for anybody, especially over the age of 5, to try to use as defense is they need it because they're still milking. Because if that's the case, your mom should be giving it to you, not a cow. You know, honestly, I'm glad that day came up where Cameron said, stop talking and go back to work, because we're good friends. So just seeing that happens to be something that could occur. Let's think you have real good friends that you work with. Maybe they're in charge of the job you're at. And a moment comes where they have to flex their authority and they all of a sudden can put on this facade of, you got a problem, you need to go home. You're going to have to go home. Like, I'm going to need you to get out of here, and they can all of a sudden just change their demeanor all of a sudden based on a policy that means jack shit, or something like, do what I told you to do and you're not listening to me. So now I'm going to punish you and I'm going to discipline you because I'm in charge here and you're not bowing to my authority. So I know that's not what he was doing. I'm just saying that seeing that was an option was a good thing for me to see, because it makes me not only realize, because I know this in the first place, but it makes it apparent that there's no steady place to stand where you're stable and you're okay if you're still working for a job or if you're still paying taxes, and if that's the reason that you're where you're at. Because the only reason I'm here, aside from wanting to help Cameron, is because I'm not trying to sit in a box, which is a threat by our government. And other people just don't seem to see it for what it really is. If you stop paying your taxes and you're threatened to get put in a box because you didn't do anything immoral, you just don't want to cooperate with our government system that you don't agree with, and people think that you're a criminal for that reason, you've got to see where we're all messed up, and we've got to get people to come around and make sense of the world we're in instead of just conforming to everything that's ever been thrusted on them, because that's what's making us sad and pathetic. And watching people do this is getting more and more heartbreaking as the days go by. What we're all experiencing now is a long period of childish backlash when someone has been confronted with a fact showing them that something that they have been doing all along was wrong. They can sometimes lash out and throw a fit. And this is basically humanity's giant comparison to the first time, or the virgin butt cramp. They've never had the butt cramp like this before, and most people don't know how to deal with it. And really, it's this kind of feeling of letting our ancestors down because we didn't follow their ways. But I don't think that if anybody really took the time to go deep into their thoughts and thought maybe our ancestors would be mad at us if we didn't just keep chopping the heads off of animals every day and slaughtering billions of other living things, you'd have to really realize that our ancestors would not be upset with us if we changed those ways, since we don't have to. And then there's so many people out there benefiting off of the death and all that. They want to tell people that it's good for them so they can keep profiting. This is what we're holding on to. What do we consider valuable? I'm at this point where I do not want to spend any more of my time putting toxic substances on shelves for my community to gobble down or to use on their body. That's the last thing I want to do. I don't even want to cooperate with the money system because I see you as family. And when I say that, I mean it. I don't want to charge you anything. You don't need to give me or anybody anything to be alive. Now, just do something that's in coordination with the universe, in coordination with nature and the area around you. Just do something that damn simple. Where do I find any people who find value in someone who's trying to teach our children how to care about each other, how to teach our children and our adults how to grow their own food and to be healthy and to understand the words that we speak to the point where we know what's good for our bodies and we're not lying to each other and manipulating each other through our language and through our secret codings in order to benefit ourselves off of others? Where do I find people that see the value in that? Because I don't want to ask people to donate money in my direction. But what I need is for people to see that I have something so important to offer. It's almost like telling Jesus to work at a tire shop. Yeah, Jesus, you could bring salvation to the planet, but the planet is ran by a bunch of money-hungry, conniving swines, and the rest of the people are just following them, and they're getting rewarded with a bunch of garbage, so they don't want to listen to you. Instead, they want it to be easy and push-button. So instead of you teaching the world how to save themselves and have salvation, why don't you go work at a freaking tire shop? That's what it seems like, because I'm not trying to compare myself to Jesus, because if I were to, I would surpass that. I'm not talking about the storybook version. I'm talking about the Son of God, the one who actually is the living energy in the world, the one who actually is in tune and is enlightened, the one that didn't just go in a storybook and get put on a cross and feed people fish, because that's a character people fall for. I'm somebody who's real. I'm somebody who can actually bring healing to the universe and to the planet. But instead of people actually wanting that, they want to criticize it and go back to a book that isn't helping them right now. Because if that book was helping you, we wouldn't be in this damn situation. So we need people to get their heads out of their asses and start using them correctly and actually find value in what is really valuable, not just what they like. We may not have the best ideas why animals, insects, plants, minerals, why they operate the way they do. But we know that they have purpose, and we know that they each do their own certain thing because we've watched them and we've studied them, and we've seen what tendencies they continue to repeat. Now, human beings have such a wide variety of options and such a wide variety of areas, locations, abilities, and possibilities that most people lose the idea or even the possible thought that humans have a purpose here. We actually are the highest form of the intelligence that is collected here that can manipulate itself. Other creatures can't do that. They can manipulate their body. Some of them can change and metamorphosize into something else, but none of them can build huge structures. What's interesting is a lot of them can build, to their size, very huge structures. But we look at them and go like, wow, look at how magnificent nature can be and artistic nature can be, creative, constructive, all these great things. And then we come along and destroy everything. A beautiful beehive. Do you know how long that takes a bunch of bees to build? Maybe not that long, but still, it took them work, it took them effort. And then a person will just come in and set up a camping tent and say, oh, there's bees here. Let me spray them and toxify that area. And guess what? That poison and those chemicals go into the ground and go into the nature that we just so nonchalantly didn't even think about and sprayed and poisoned. This is what we're doing unconsciously. That's why it matters to me that we stop doing so many things, because even the littlest thing has a big repercussion sometimes. Spraying poisons everywhere because you don't like the way it looks or you don't like the way it smells or you want to wear a fake artificial scent. We've got to get your head on straight because you're killing yourself and the world around you. And you really do not necessarily come back to this, but you come back to something similar to this because that's where your memories will be until you evolve. I know. I really, really know. And if I could put it in better words to show you how much I care about you, I would. And I'm trying. And I will continue to. It gets people all stirred up when I say that, truthfully, we shouldn't be celebrating a day like Memorial Day. Today happens to be that day. But if you love your family member who was involved in the war and you want to keep their memory alive, you would do that every day. You wouldn't just do that on a certain day of the year, and there's a reason why it's that certain time of year. You wouldn't just get angry at people because they didn't see why you honored your lost loved one. What about the life that you're being used for? What about all the time that you're wasting of your life right now? You're sacrificing stuff for that same system, using you in a different way. You may not be sent out to shoot it out with people, but you're also being sent out every day to do things against your own knowing better until the point where you forget about it and start doing it on your own. So you're being used, just not in the same way. So yeah, Memorial Day is a day where if you honor somebody, honor them every day. If you love somebody, love them every day. You shouldn't have to have one day that's special to say, hey, they died on this day for these tyrants to play their war games. This is where people that go on about etymology and word magic and all that kind of stuff when they don't understand it really mislead people. There's people out there who have great information, but then they get stuck on certain things like talking about how every time B, a vowel, and an L appear, it means the dark god Baal, the one that they worship. That would be like saying the word bald means Baal. Well, yeah, your hair bailed on you. I get it. But people don't really understand that they mean certain things and they're not always morbid. Just like M-O-R or M-vowel-R, they say means, murder or to kill. Well, that means to have more of something, means to kill it. No, that means manifested, ongoing, reference expressed. It means something that was manifested and ongoing. And you're referencing that expression more. See, that's what M-O-R means. It depends on how you use it. It's a verbal, vibrational math pattern. And people are losing each other by trying to over-explain things that are wrong and by misleading people with things that they super-duper believe in but just happen to be incorrect about. So it is my responsibility to help try to correct that and help people understand. It seems to bother people when I'm not impressed with space and all these things. This guy goes, hey, did you see the thing where there's this committee that's been studying spaceships and they're moving at 12,000 miles per hour and nothing can ever move that fast that we've created, and they've got this and that, and they can go the same speed in light and water and in space and in air and through land and things like that. And I was like, yeah, those are light vessels. As weird as this sounds, the more and more we dig into things so we can see finer light and we can hear finer sounds, we're finding more things because our ability to investigate things is one of our biggest problems. We're looking into things we don't know about before we know about them. And yes, there's a degree of that we're going to have in life just automatically because we're here in a physical world to understand that. And if we're not able to go out there and do anything, then we shouldn't be trying to go out there and do anything unless the underlying part is because we're trying to escape from where we are. We're trying to escape from the life that we're living in order to learn. We're not here to learn about space and aliens. We're here to learn about ourselves, the inner space, the depth of your human soul, because you've already done all of that. You are the light body vessel, and you're contained within you. And the guy looking out is receiving those things out there from other people's thoughts and imagination. I know that's hard for people to understand, but when you die, you do understand these things. You just forget it again and again and again, and you do it over and over and over. And when somebody actually remembers it, it's too weird to try to explain. Like, yeah, driving a space vessel that's 12,000 miles an hour, I've done it, and you've done it too. How fast did you arrive here from non-light into living light? Faster than that. And every time a soul appears, there is a reflection of it. Just like when you project outward from a shining light, there's something projecting inward. And sometimes those things are seeable due to the light that's behind them or the light that's shining on them. Sometimes they are obstructing something, so it's a shadow. Other times they're being shined on by something, so it's a light. Now we give it all these big, huge meanings, but inside our bodies we have all these huge, vascular and amazing things happening too, moving at speeds and rates that we can't, but they're at such a smaller level. Now put that out into the world, and you could understand why. The plot thickens. In this DG Happenings, I finally spoke to some of the corporate people that work at other Dollar Generals that come to this one whenever we have inventories. And those store managers also can't stand Dollar General. But see how people have been trained or basically groomed their whole lives to just listen and do what they're told without causing any problems? Even though their whole life seems like a problem, it's one of those, hey, you're supposed to put yourself so far behind other people that when you have a moral thing that is being tested, you're supposed to stay quiet and just keep doing it anyway. I could see in their faces, in their demeanors, how unhappy they are with life because they're responsible for what? A store full of people who don't give a damn about what they're doing, poisoning their communities, and don't want to be here. They've even admitted that. So therefore, when I look at the fact that I told everybody 7 years ago almost that this was going to happen and that everything was going to add up to me, do you think it's just a coincidence that these two store managers, who are the manager of the guy that is this store manager, are Tina and Linda? When you understand that D and T are reversible, that's a D, I-N-A. Well, there's Dina, but Daniel is D-A-N-I-E-L. Tina, switch the T to a D, all those letters are there. That's the daughter of Linda, L-I-N-D-A, which is Daniel scrambled, is it not? And before I worked here, I even said that I didn't want to spend my life sitting here with the camera on. And what am I doing? I work at a place with a guy whose name is literally Camera On. This isn't something I'm making up. This is a pattern I'm living in, and I've done this more than one set of lifetimes. I've done it more than one civilization. And people cannot understand that. So I have to talk it to such a low level to make sense to anybody. It feels stupid to me. But then going about every day doing what we're doing is even more stupid. So what I have to do is continue to do it because I give a damn about you and everyone. And we can make this right if we work together.